What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Jus Work podcast, hosted by yours truly, Chuck Clemens, and my brother Stephen Hurley. Steve, what's up, bro?
Just finished up Thanksgiving week here. A lot of hoops, but it's a good week. Reset a
Yeah,
little bit. And looking forward to the next week.
a lot of hoops, a lot of good food. Hopefully, good Thanksgiving, good
Yeah,
eats.
it
But
was good. A little hectic.
yeah,
We hosted our house, but it was a good time for sure.
nice. Yeah, I mean, we hosted too. I wasn't expecting it because usually we're away all the time, but we hosted it. It's always nice to kind of just stay home. But yeah, it was a lot of good eats, a lot of good basketball at the
That's
same
right.
time.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, it was feast week, all these tournaments, high level games, high level matchups. Before we get into like the actual tournament stuff like that, just give me a little bit of your takeaways of how this week was. Did you enjoy, let's say, like the players era? Did you enjoy all these tournaments? How was that for you?
I would say yes. Did I enjoy the tournaments? Obviously, yeah, because most of the teams are, Power Five teams playing one another, so it's good to get that level of comp. I did enjoy particularly the players era just because, again, those championship or third place games, those teams were playing for money, NIL money, so that was kind of cool. So it was a little added motive there. And then I think it's good to see, like, again, those teams go against quality teams. So you could see, okay, where is our team maybe a little better than what we thought, or maybe right now we're a little worse. What are our strengths and weaknesses? So I thought the players hour was pretty good. The only thing I didn't like about it was the point differential was like the determiner of, who got advanced. Because, for example,
Mhm.
Iowa State looked great the whole week, and they weren't even in the third place game. So
Right.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree as well. We're definitely gonna get into that a little bit more when we start
yep,
highlighting a little bit more. But it's a great week. I feel like we talked about in the last episode where this week specifically kind of gives that feel of that March Madness vibes where you're getting different teams, different high level teams playing each other that you won't see obviously during conference play. It was great. It was like games from like 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. even
well,
past.
I was
So
gonna
that
say it
was
was crazy. The UNLV, I think it was Alabama game. I didn't realize like in
yeah,
1:32 in the morning, it's still
yeah,
going on.
yeah.
You're
That was
like,
a late
oh my
game.
God, poor
And
Alabama
obviously,
fans.
yeah, exactly. I'll say Alabama. Those games are 7:30 Eastern time, and
Right?
if you're a real fan, you probably have to stay up a few hours later. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the players era. Obviously, we said some high level teams. Um, who's your pick to? Do you remember your pick
It was
that we
it was
said?
Gonzaga.
Yeah, I had Gonzaga as well. Yeah,
So I guess
Gonzaga.
we'll give ourselves, a little pat on the back, but can't give it
Exactly.
all the way, obviously.
Yeah,
Complete
yeah, yeah.
blowout. But
One of the say that game, Michigan versus Gonzaga, obviously thought it'd been much closer. But let's get right to Michigan, man. I mean, great
absolutely.
week at the Players era. They won every game 30 plus, and this was a team that barely beat TCU, who was a solid team. We'll talk about TCU that had a great win this past week as well.
Yep.
So they're a competitive team. Close one versus Wake Forest earlier in the season, but then I was actually a person I was like, you can't have these close games versus these kind of teams, and they kind of
Right.
just steamrolled this whole Players era, won by 30 plus every single game. Turnovers, which was a huge factor for them, a huge downside for them before these games. That was a great improvement. They didn't really turn the ball as much. Ellie Cadell looked great at the point guard spot. Everyone just looked good. They were rolling. What were your thoughts on how they did this past week at the Players era?
So I think with Michigan, I kind of maybe overlooked going into the year, but they have legit like their bench. They have four guys who are solid, solid players. So that I kind of looked overlooked, I guess, going into the year because it's such a top heavy, lineup with Yaxel and Elliott and Mara and such. The second thing I would say for them that really stood out is their length and size, especially when they start Merez, Yaxel, and Mara. That's just tough to deal with on defense because most of the time you're not getting a second shot. It's hard to even get a shot off, especially at the rim with Mara there. And then offensively, they were, I mean, it's 3 games, so it's not a huge sample size, but their shooting was much better than I thought. They got, the guy off the bench, 42, was very solid shooting. Namari Burnett, he seemed to hit every shot this weekend. They were really solid. So they, to me, this weekend, kind of right now, they look like, again, one of those top 4 or 5 teams in college right now, and definitely could be a Final Four team and hopefully a championship team.
Yeah, they're definitely a team, like we said, starting off the season early, it's a lot about the continuity, and they're a newer team with a lot of different transfers, still have some guys coming back and stuff like that. But that was like a reason why wasn't too high on them because they're just kind of starting out, and it looks like they're kind of clicking right now, kind of rolling, and the talent was always there with them. Like I had no, even in the past, I've said that. I never had a problem with their talent. I just thought it was just early on that that continuity and stuff like that. But they're rolling now. I mean, I think they're a team that's you could put them in that tier one level of competitors throughout the whole country with a Purdue, with the Houston, with the Duke, with the teams like that, where they're a tier one type of team now. So I was really excited. I mean, something that I didn't think was gonna happen so early on, but um, they're a team like you said. They're really deep. They have like the freshman Riley Gale come off the bench, 42 like you mentioned before, backup point guard who can give a spark off the bench as well. So I was really impressed
Yeah,
with
I looked. I don't think it's ever been done in a tournament setting this early in the year where teams won three straight games in a row, 30 plus,
yeah.
I don't think that's ever. I saw a tweet about that. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that was crazy. And then the one thing for this team, I think last year and early this year was the turnovers, especially with Elliott. That was a concern. He looked great this week. I got to give him a lot of credit. He really looked very good, especially shooting the ball, making the right decisions. So if he could, control the pace and not turn it over for them, gonna be a tough out.
Yeah. What was another team in the players era specifically that you thought, maybe caught your eye or just did well that, maybe people aren't really talking about right now?
Yeah, I would say I'll give you one, I guess, is Kansas.
Hmm.
So Kansas is a team that I had my doubts with without Darren Peterson. Where are they getting the offense from? It's
Hmm.
tough when you remove your best player. You're all offseason, you're creating your offense, defense around him, and now he's gone. Their first game without him against Kansas, their big game, I'll say, is or versus Duke. Um, they were good. I would say they were competitive, but they were just missing that extra punch there with him. But over this, weekend at the Players Era, they played Rutgers first, I believe. Then they played Notre Dame, two solid teams, but maybe not top end, tournament teams. But then they played Tennessee, and that Tennessee team just beat a Houston team. Obviously, very good win. They looked very impressive throughout the Players Era, and they were, pretty much controlled that game, in that second half. So I think that's a huge positive for them. They have a huge game this week against UConn, so I'm interested to see if if Peterson comes back, what will that look like? And B, if he doesn't, can they keep this up, especially at home? But they were a team definitely I was very impressed with
Yeah.
because they were shorthanded the whole week.
Yeah. I think also the talent is somewhat there with that team, but I think this is going to do so much for their confidence going into like
Oh yeah,
December
yep,
conference play, and it will be interesting to see how it comes back with Darren coming back because he's a very high usage player. That has the ball in his hands a lot, and obviously these other guys, Trey White, Flory, they're doing their thing with him off the court. So it will be interesting to see kind of how that dynamic is once he comes back because it's always hard, especially as the best player, come back and your team is doing very well without you. So.
yeah. It's amazing to me how Flory, who he's not like many people probably think, oh, he's like 6'11", 7 foot. He's like 6'9". And he
Hmm.
basically just like physically every time I've watched him, he physically just seems a way to just dominate that matchup at the center spot. And Tennessee is not an easy team to do that against. So I was pretty
Hmm.
impressed with that. So I agree. They should be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah, for me, a team that I don't think that's getting as much recognition right now. You kind of mentioned them earlier. They got the short end of the stick in the players area. Was Iowa State. 3-0 this past week at the feast week players era. They definitely could have, like you said, that point differential thing kind of messed them up a little
Yeah.
bit, but they're a really good team. Obviously they lost their point guard Lipsy in their second game, I believe, towards the end, but they have a really like what's number 22's name?
Oh,
Hubert.
Milo. I think it's
Yeah,
Milo.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think he's an NBA guy. He kind of took that next step in terms of scoring for them.
Yeah.
He played well before. He's 6'7", 6'8", but he just looks super comfortable, even with Lipsy out. So they're a team that I thought definitely opened some eyes, and obviously heading into they have a big week as well.
Yep.
Purdue, I think on Saturday,
hmm
um, but they looked pretty sharp and pretty good. But that's how they
They're
always do now.
yeah, they're a team like
Years.
especially early in the year, they're a team that knows their identity.
Yeah.
I think that's just a huge advantage again in this transfer portal, college basketball, roster turning over. That's a huge advantage. And all the games I watched them play, they're, half court physical defense, right? Getting second chances. That was so evident in all three games. So I was very impressed with them. And the last two games, they didn't have their starting point guard and won convincingly both games. So they were definitely very impressive. Their young freshman point guard, we should definitely check him out more. I don't know his name, but he was very impressive the last two games. So
Hmm.
it'd be interesting to see if he could be that secondary kind of creator for them if Lipsy's hurt or just throughout the year, when he's out. That would be a huge boost for them.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's move on to another very known tournament that's kind of, people are saying are taking a little downslide because of this players era. But let's talk about the Maui Invitational. Just to highlight a few teams, USC ended up winning the whole thing. They're undefeated right now. Had some definitely close calls throughout the year, but they're plugging away each and every game. Seton Hall got a huge win versus NC State. Other team, Arizona State was pretty good. Washington State, Boise State.
Texas was in there, right, or no?
Texas as
Yeah.
well. A lot of pretty like not the top teams, but the kind of
Few
that
teams that
two.
could make the tournament for sure, yeah.
Exactly. So, what's your outlook on that tournament? And let's kind of talk about maybe why is taking a little bit of a downslide now, rather than before where it was like all top teams.
So my thoughts on the tournament are the teams that I watched played, especially the championship game, and a lot of the games was highly competitive. Those guys, they want to win. It still has that kind of prestige behind it of the history. So there's definitely, in terms of having the tournament in Maui, having it there, it definitely seems to still have that prestige. It just seems to be okay. The hard part is getting the top tier teams to join it you know? So I think what's wrong with it, again, especially with the tournaments like the Players Era where they're offering NIL and all that stuff, I think there's got to be some type of similar thing to that, because I just think now teams are going to say, hey, especially with the Players Tournament next year's expanding to 32 teams, they're just going to be like, we'll go there. We know we're going to get very quality opponents, boost our non conference schedule versus going all the way to Maui and maybe we get one team we play that maybe is a lock to make the tournament. So I think it's simple, but I think they just honestly have to find some way to get and they not only have to get better teams in there, more higher end teams, but they just probably have to some type of NIL offering. If I had to take a guess.
Yeah, I think to get the better teams, you need to have the NIL offerings, all the money,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, every school is a business. NCAA is a business, so wherever the money is, like the players are, they're going to go there and play. And with it expanding, I do think we may see these other tournaments start giving some money out, just because that's the only way they kind of keep up with the players
Yeah.
era. And it's tough, but it's like at the end of the day, like college basketball, like Maui started a long time ago, and college basketball now is just switching and changing at a
I,
super fast pace.
I
So,
thought about this actually the other day, kind of an interesting idea was all the like Charleston Classic, Maui, Battle Atlantis, those are like, there's let's say there's 8 teams in each.
mhm,
The winners of those, let's say it's a Final Four, would meet in Vegas. And that would
okay,
be kind of like the cash prize. So you still have those MTE things or
yeah.
tournaments, and then
Hmm.
you have the Final Four in Vegas. That could be something kind of interesting.
Wait, so you said, wait, what? Say that again?
So like let's say Maui, Charleston Classic, Fort
Yeah,
Myers, all those tournaments, let's say there's
yeah,
eight
yeah, yeah.
teams in each.
Okay,
They have like a bracket. The winner of those tournaments, they all go to
play each other.
Vegas
Okay,
or something
okay,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to
And
find a
they
way where
all
it's
play each
like,
other.
yeah,
Yeah,
where it's
okay,
like you keep those tournaments. Because
okay,
I think if the players are going to 32 teams, I hate to say it, I don't know how many times Wednesday before Thanksgiving we're going to be watching,
yeah.
Battle for Atlantis.
Okay, so you're saying all the other tournaments that aren't the players' era kind of team up,
Yeah.
basically. The winners go and play each other in Vegas for a cash prize. Okay,
If
I
I
mean
had my commissioner
that's an
hat
idea.
on, yeah, if I had my
That's an
commissioner
idea
hat
for
on,
sure.
that's what I'd do.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. I think yeah, it's just tough. It's kind of like the smaller and bigger schools. Like the bigger schools have more money, so they're
Right.
gonna be able to give more money out to more players, and the smaller schools kind of get that get put on the other end, and that's kind of what it is. It's like whoever just has the most money is most likely going to end up with the better teams, better players. But I think Valley Invitational was still like a great tournament. There were a lot of like quality teams. The vibe in it was still that like mid-season Maui tournament, and obviously USC ended up winning it, and they had some close games. But they're a team that they keep winning. Like they could be a team that could be a little bit dangerous come conference play, come tournament as well. So. I was happy about how the tournament went. I was glad that that vibe was still there. So
Hmm.
hopefully it's not going away too soon.
Absolutely. No, it was definitely good to watch. I mean, those rims are,
Yeah,
they would make me look like a
yeah.
40% three
Gonna
point
say
shooter, you know?
they're forgiving for sure,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, and then we also have some other tournaments, the Baja tournament, tournament down in Florida. So there's a lot of great tournaments this past week, a lot of great games. But we already highlighted one team that is doing super well, just this past week and just in the season in general. Obviously in Michigan, but another team that's steamrolling and is super high right now is another team from Michigan, but it's Michigan State. They've had I think they're 7-0 right now. Great win versus UNC this past week. They had obviously beat Arkansas. Um, what's your outlook on them as a team, just in general? Why do you think they're doing so well? Why do you just think that they're just steamrolling so far in the season?
Yeah, they're another team, in my opinion, clearly knows who they are and
Hmm.
plays to their strengths and tries to avoid their weaknesses. I think kind of an underrated thing for them is I think their front court is just very underrated.
Yeah.
They like whether it's Cooper, whether it's Kohler, those guys are very good around the rim, and Kohler could stretch it out a little bit with a 3-point shot. But even like for example, freshman off the bench, Cam Ward. I mean,
Hmm.
every time I watch him, he's converting plays around the rim. He's getting an offensive rebound. I mean, to have a great front court like that to go along with Fears, who just basically might not be the most flashy player, the best shooter, quote unquote, but he just gets the ball in the right spots and makes winning plays, whether that's defensively getting a crucial steal or rebound, whether it's on offense getting the ball to the right guys or making a tough layup. It definitely helps to have that. They're just a team. They know who they are, and they just, if you don't bring your A game, they're gonna, it's gonna be tough to beat them.
Yeah. I think also just that experience and continuity that they have. Obviously, these guys are all for the most part, juniors and seniors, and they just played within the system. Obviously, Tom Izzo, one of the best coaches of all time, but they're just playing within the system. They know how to play with each other. I think having the two bigs kind of gives a different look for a lot of teams because usually you're playing against
Yeah,
four out, one in for the most part. And if you have Kohler at that power forward spot, he's a big guy, like 6'9", 6'10", but he's like burly. He's like a bigger
yeah,
guy. And his post moves and his touch is just kind of different. So it's hard for them to match up. I think something that's been doing them well so far is just their shooting ability. Obviously, they're shooting the ball much better than I think people expected them to, and that's something that if they can shoot the ball really well, it's like kind of how can you stop them? Because they have the down low presence. If they can shoot the ball well, it's great. They have a heady point guard and Jeremy Fears kind of run the whole show. And then, like you said, Cam Ward, Cohen Carr, Kurt Tang, the freshman from New Hampshire, I believe. He's doing very well as well. And they're all kind of just fitting in together. Um, so we'll see. I think the shooting percentage will probably go down a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how they can kind of like play off of that. But they're another team that's like, you know, obviously they probably don't have the most talent top 10. They don't have probably the most top 10 talent in the country,
right.
but they're a team that played so far with each other, played well with each other, complement each other well with each other, and you have Izzo kind of leading the storm. It's pretty tough to be a team like that. And they go just super hard. Like I feel like sometimes just there's getting to all the 50-50 balls, getting to every single rebound, tying teams up and stuff like that. So when you have a team that like I said, know how to play with each other. They play for each other, play for their coach, and they just go hard every single possession. It's super tough, and they have a pretty big week as well this week. So it'll be interesting to see how they keep rolling. So
Yeah, because they beat Arkansas, they beat Kentucky, they beat UNC, and now they play obviously Duke this upcoming weekend. I mean, if they're able to get those 4 wins, I mean, that's like, we're talking now like a top 2, 3 seed,
yeah, easily.
right? So, I mean, it'll be a huge game, but UNC was a team too, like their front court, I mean, they're phenomenal. So it's fascinating to me how they were able to control that aspect of
Hmm.
the game too. So I agree with all what you said about them. They're for
No,
real.
two Michigan teams. Yeah, they're doing really well. Obviously, Michigan football kind of got the other end of the stick this past week versus Ohio
Yeah.
State. The basketball teams are gonna kind of keep it up for them. Let's talk about a team that I think had super, and it's still early in the season, but they had super high expectations. Maybe like being a top five team with the talent they had coming in. But aren't really doing as well as probably people thought so far. Obviously, your team, St. John's, they had a tough week at Players Era this week, losing to Auburn, losing to Iowa State, which Auburn, team's still figuring it out. I think that's a team that, you kind of have to get a win against, but I would say it's very tough as well. But what's your outlook on them? What's not working so far with this team?
Yeah, so I think there's two aspects. One is the offensively, I know people make a lot of they don't have a point guard, which I understand, but I think it's just what I've noticed, especially in these tight games down the end, is the last 2 or 3 minutes, their spacing and what they want to get to is just it's kind of a mess right now. And I think that's more, again, five new guys on the court, most likely at one time. So that's just over time. I think that can get fixed in terms of who's going to be the guy that gets the ball, where do they like it, that can get fixed. The other side of the ball, defense, I'm not so sure on because the two areas they really struggle and they were elite at last year is they have struggled at the guard spot, just keeping guys in front of them. This was pretty evident with Tahad Pettiford and LeBaron Philon in both their losses against those teams. Those guys just got in the paint, and Aiden Holloway too. Those guys just got in the paint at will, and it was just they couldn't stop them. And then also on top of that, their defensive rebounding has just been poor. I think they're one of the worst defensive rebounding teams in the country, which is crazy for a Rick Pitino team. And given their front court of Dill Mitchell, Bryce Hopkins, Zuby Ejiofor, you'd think, it should be better. I don't think I think obviously the top 5 or 10, preseason rating was a little much, probably looking back on it. But I think in terms of being a team that gets to the Final Four, I think that's still a possibility. But I think they're gonna have to clean up defensively that side of the ball because they actually shot the ball fairly well this weekend, which was I know a concern going into the year. But defensively, just especially the young guys, Joe Sannon and then Ian Jackson, those guys are just having a tough time keeping guys in front of them. And then rebounding, they just got to do a better job. But I'd say, yeah, they obviously have a few more. Ole Miss, Kentucky, they play in a non-conference, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, they've just struggled against those teams that are, just have that speed and athleticism that they do, and have that, elite quick guard play. So,
And it's interesting too because you have a guy like Dylan Mitchell, who's probably one of the most athletic players in the
hmm
country. But you have length at basically every position. Like Ian Jackson, sorry, is like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". I don't know how tall he is.
yep,
Sonnen is about like 6'3". Isaiah
yeah,
Saller's about like 6'3". So they have some length, and when you play these like smaller, quick guards like a LeBaron Philon, Holloway, Pettiford, I don't think like, and this is more of like just a technical standpoint, but like you got to use your length to your
right,
advantage.
right,
It can
right,
turn into like your help defense. Obviously, you get up on them, they're crafty enough, they're quick enough to kind of just get by, and I think that's something that they definitely use to their advantage. Obviously, they're a team that wants to get up and down, so defensively when they were pressing and stuff like that, that's hard to kind of do against you know these quick guards because they're kind of just get by and kind of
right.
create for everyone else or themselves. Offensively, I thought is kind of similar to what you're saying. I just don't think we kind of talked about it a little bit, but the guards and the bigs aren't like really meshing together. Like
No, yeah,
there's some games where I talked about this before is where the bigs are doing their thing and the guards are kind of quiet, and then kind of the next half kind of switches over.
yep,
That's not something you could have. I think that for a full complete team, a Final Four championship team, it's like you guys all have to be on the same page working together, and
right.
that's something I've seen so far. And in terms of the point guard thing, just from one game, I think it was the Auburn game that I saw, and um, remind me of the point guard off the bench again, the smaller point guard.
Is it Dylan Darling?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So when he was on the court, their offense looked like it was flowing a little bit better
hmm
um, than when he wasn't on the court. I think he kind of got guys into spots and he was getting to the paint, kicking out, making stuff not for himself but for others. And I think that's what players like Sellers, Jackson, so I think they kind of need they can create off the dribble themselves, but I do think it makes it a little bit easier for them to kind of operate off of a true point guard. Because there were some points of the game versus Auburn, I think, where it was later in the game. Darling was he fouled out, and we were talking about like last two possessions of the game, like the game winner. Zuby Ejiofor tried to hit a step back three to try to win the game,
Yeah.
and it's like there was like I think 10 seconds left on the clock, and no one got. I mean, they had a timeout as well, so maybe Patino should do something else. But like, no one had no
No
like.
cohesiveness. There's no yeah, what are we supposed to get out of this? Yeah.
So and maybe that coming from just a leader standpoint of who's going to be the leader for them. Obviously, Zuby's probably the leader, but you probably do want a guard to lead the team because it's like they can put people in the right position. So I think it's early on. I don't think the Big East is that great of a conference in terms of
No.
like how many teams are going to be great. So they definitely obviously still find their way up in the top two or three teams. So, but it will definitely be interesting to see how they can kind of make some changes. What kind of happens? What the team doesn't practice stuff like that. But definitely a team I do think the talent is there for sure.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. I think they have some good opportunities left in the non-conference, but yeah, definitely a team that is not living up to their preseason hype.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to you kind of highlight LeBaron Philon, Todd Pettiford. There's a lot of great point guards. Not just from all classes so far that we've been talking about, and we had a little bit of a discussion debate in our group chat, and I've to let you know I've changed my standpoint a little bit on it, my top five and think about it a little bit more. But let's break down our top five college point guards so far in the season. Maybe just based not maybe on their stats so far, but just as a player in general. So
Yeah,
let's do it. We'll go one by one. Like I'll go one, and you go one,
sure,
two,
sure,
two, three,
sure.
three, four, four. I think it's probably the same for both of us. My number one point guard is Braden Smith.
Absolutely, yeah, I would agree.
Obviously, probably the front runner right now for Player of the Year. So it's kind of hard to pass up on him as being number one point guard. He's just kind of led um, Purdue to some great wins. He's getting off, and yeah, I think it's no brainer that he's at that number one spot.
No, he is someone who, again, controls the pace of every game. It seems like every mid-range shots he's coming off a screen, it goes in. He's proven it for the longest, and he deserves that number one spot.
Yeah, most definitely. For mine too, this is players I've watched so far, and I think that mine too, someone that's kind of shown up pretty much every game so far is LeBaron Philon. Um, like we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, he can get by his man at all times. He from his freshman to sophomore year, I think he just has a more mature level. He looks a little bit stronger. He looks like he's trying to be that lead guy for Alabama.
Hmm.
Obviously, can get to the paint whenever he wants. His shooting ability is kind of crazy. I think from the point guard perspective, I do think, but this is how they kind of play. They kind of play just kind of everyone kind of get their own buckets. It seems like, but
Right.
if you can kind of make these other players just a little bit better, I think their team can kind of get to that next level. If he can make a Taylor Bowl a little bit better, if he can make their big man that transferred in a little bit better, I think that would kind of be that next step for him as a player, but also him their team as a whole. But it's hard for me to put anybody else in that two spot just because I like every game he's kind of shown up so far to that next level in terms of just being that lead guard for them.
Yeah, no, he's in my top five for sure. He's someone who, yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but because they'll be later on my list. But my number two is Bennett Sturts, actually, from Iowa. He's someone I watched the first game I've seen all year versus Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is usually a very good defensive team, and he shredded them. He was making tough shots after tough shot, and Iowa's a team. They played a very slow pace, so it's not like they're getting easy buckets all the time. So they really work the shot clock to get a good shot. He's someone again last year when they were in the tournament. They played Missouri and Texas Tech. He was phenomenal against them. Something interesting I didn't know about him is he plays 40 minutes a game every game, which
That's great.
yeah, pray he's better. Whatever they have for your legs, I forgot what you guys use,
I'm
but
gonna take everything.
yeah, they got to use those. But
Yeah.
he's someone again. I think he's an NBA player. He's probably a first round pick, but he's a phenomenal shooter. Makes guys better. He's on defense. He's a little better than I think people give him credit for. But yeah, he's a phenomenal player. So he's my number two.
Yeah, yeah. I thought there were like three or four point guards better than him, but there's not. And my three is also Bennett Sturts. Um, yeah, basically, kind of just piggyback to what you're kind of saying right now is, he has their team as 7-0 right now, Iowa, who probably could start making some top 25 noise pretty soon. But I think when it comes down to a point guard, I do think winning is a huge factor. And we've seen him come from the D2 ranks, going to Drake, now at Iowa. Like he's won basically his whole career in college. And it does make sense that obviously they play at a much slower pace. So for him to average around like 18 points, a few assists here and there, a few rebounds. He's kind of filling up the stat sheet as a whole, and then on less possessions, that's pretty impressive. 6'4", 6'5", bigger guard, he's someone that could easily be a first round draft pick coming up. But that's my number three.
Yeah, I would say, well, I guess we're piggybacking, but I was going to say LeBaron Fallon's probably my number three. He's someone, again, first game of the year, I saw him versus St. John's. He was phenomenal. Saw him again versus Gonzaga. He was phenomenal. He's definitely like last year. He was someone who always had the mid range, always had the finishing around the basket. He wasn't a great 3-point shooter last year, believe it or not. He's improved that a lot. He's very good. He's someone like I said, like you said earlier. I think if he gets guys that just a little bit more involved and whatnot, he could take that step to challenging Braden Smith for that top spot. But he's someone again. He's going to be playing the NBA next year most likely, and he's been great against the best competition. So that's why I have him at my number three.
Yeah. Yeah. For my four, I think four and five. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. I think for my four right now of point guards this year, I'm gonna go with Mykal Brown. Freshman point guard for Louisville. He's kind of shown up in every single game so far. Um, versus Kentucky, where I thought these guards were kind of giving him a harder time, being a more experienced, stronger guards. But he just looks so mature for his age. He's like probably like 18. Um, Everything looks like super calm for him. He's obviously 6'3", 6'4", bigger guard, but his shooting ability, able to kind of get by guys, finish at the rim. His in between game is really good. Also, could pass the ball at a very high rate. So it's hard for me not to put him at that four spot. Obviously, they have another huge week, a couple big games this week, so it's gonna be interesting to see if he can kind of keep that up. But he's a player that he's just a super exciting player to watch, and I think as a freshman, he's very impressed me. So he's at my four spot.
Yeah, no, he's definitely seen him twice. He's unreal shot maker. I don't disagree with anything you've said. My number four might be a little bit of a surprise, but it's PJ Haggerty from Kansas State. He's someone who last year from Memphis was an All-American, I believe, and he was just phenomenal. Carried that team, to the tournament and whatnot. And this year he's left off on the same, putting up crazy numbers. He had 30 plus the other night. He was unreal. He's someone who he gets to the free throw line, excuse me, at a crazy rate. I want to say
Mhm.
this year it's like 50%, which is
Yeah, I remember last year that a crazy amount too.
yeah, and
Big
he's looked
crowd.
phenomenal. Good game versus Indiana this past week. And he's someone again, he's just proven it at a little bit longer than some other guys, and he's someone there's no reason why there's reason why, he was a highly coveted transfer portal player. So he's my number four. He might maybe one day he plays in the NBA. He might not have that NBA prospect buzz around him like Michael Brown, but he's really good. So he's my number four.
For my five, I'm gonna go Milos Usman out of Houston. Just another experienced guard. He's had some pretty huge games, like late in games where he's someone I think you can kind of trust with the ball, whether it's scoring, whether it's creating plays for others. But he's someone that I think for Houston, they've always been in tight games, but he's making some tough shots. Another like just heady point guard, kind of get everyone involved. And I think defensively, he's one of the best guard defenders in the country. So it's hard for me to put anybody. I think actually I do think you can go a lot of different ways for that fourth and fifth spot, but just from what I've seen so far, he's probably taking that fifth spot for me.
Yeah, no, it's hard to argue. He's been really good this year. That I don't think that's a wrong answer at all. My two came down to for my last spot was Jaden Bradley and Darius Acuff. And I'm gonna go Jaden Bradley here. I just think he's in the big moments this year. This is what separated for me. The big moments, he's just been awesome. Whether it's UCLA, whether it's been UConn, Florida, he's just had that, all three games he's been phenomenal. And he's just had a great senior year so far. So I think he's someone, he's deserved it. He's come in clutch. I think there's numerous different guys you could have went. I would have even argued too. Maybe Kingston Flemings could have been
Yeah,
considered a point
yes,
guard.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I would probably consider him more of a two,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
but
So,
like a combo guard. Like
yeah, he's
I
not a
don't know
true
if
point.
that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah, I'd probably say Milos is their point guard, but I
yeah,
feel like that Jaden Brown. That's actually I probably would put him in my top five for sure. Now that I'm thinking about it, because he's playing some huge games. He's kind of proven a lot of people wrong so far in terms of where they had him. 'Cause I actually looked up the top 15 point guard rankings before the season started.
hmm
He wasn't even on the list, and I think that's something that they've
yeah,
been talking about on the news.
a lot. Yeah.
So yeah, he's that's a great pick as well Great pick. Let's move into. Yeah, I think we had some pretty good games so far. Pretty seeing a lot of these conferences play. Who's your best conference so far, just based on, I guess, teams from top to bottom so far?
Ah, the tough one.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
interesting with this.
Yeah, I would say I'm gonna go with the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I just think between Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, even like a lower tier team like Nebraska's had some sneaky good wins. They might not be in that same tier, but and then there's teams who are struggling right now, especially in the West Coast, Oregon and UCLA. They're
Hmm.
probably going to turn it around. They just got guys back. They're very solid. Um, I'm trying to think, but yeah, I mean those that top of that conference, they could be 4 to 5 top 10 teams at the end of the year in there. So I would go with the Big Ten. I just think that conference is loaded at the top.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly don't think any conference is kind of close. You think about it. Big East. We think about the Power Five. Big East. No. ACC in terms of top to bottom. No.
No.
SEC has kind of been a little bit on the disappointing end so far in
Yeah,
terms
they
of.
don't. So far, they haven't had the top end
Right.
elite, teams that they had maybe in the past few years. Like
Yeah.
Florida, Auburn is struggling. Tennessee
Arkansas.
was good, but they lost to Kansas without Darren
Exactly.
Peterson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think,
Yeah.
the Big Ten has that just those first 4 or 5 teams that are 6 teams are just unreal.
And when you look at it, like Nebraska's 8-0, Indiana 7-0, Iowa 7-0, Michigan 7-0, Michigan State 7-0, Purdue 7-0, USC just won Maui 7-0, Penn State 7-1, Ohio State 6-1, Illinois 6-2, but two losses to very good teams.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like UCLA, Oregon. Obviously, you're gonna get to that point, but like that was like like 8 teams I just kind of just named just then that are all undefeated so far, and obviously Illinois gonna be a top 15 part of the whole year. Purdue's gonna be up there. Michigan State, Michigan, they're all gonna be ranked pretty high. Iowa's gonna be ranked. Indiana's ranked right now. So, um, like the SEC last year was probably the best conference we've seen ever in terms of
Yeah.
just how many teams they had in the top 25. But when you look at this Big Ten list, it's like they might have three, four, five, like 6 teams in that top 25 starting this upcoming week. So 6 or 7, honestly.
Like I think like the Big 12, for example, the top end of it is really good, but then you get towards the bottom, it's bad.
Right.
So it's like even the middle to bottom's weak. So I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, the Big Ten so far, they've just had so many good wins and
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
great teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at the Big 12 right now. I said Arizona undefeated, Iowa State, Houston, obviously BYU. But then
Like
you get
like the top teams are very good.
yeah.
But then the middle bottom, it's like the next tier's like, okay, TCU, I guess you can consider now, but are they really like, if we're comparing TCU to Iowa, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, TCU just got a huge win versus Florida, but they're competitive, but I think they're still kind of just levels when it comes to
Yep.
some teams. But yeah, I think yeah, pretty easy answer right now. It'll be interesting to see if the SEC is going to pick it up a little bit, but um, that'd be something to look into. Speaking of the SEC, we had some pretty not even college basketball news, but some college football news come out today. Lane Kiffin, football coach for Ole Miss, who's in the college football playoffs, correct?
Yes, yep.
Just accepted the job at LSU during the season. Like whilst they're getting ready to play in
Yeah.
some huge games, but their coach is kind of just left or not left. He's still there, still coaching, but is going to end up leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Is that
so I think it got finalized today, but he is not going to coach them in the playoff.
he's not?
No. Yeah.
Oh, damn! I
And
didn't know that.
that was finalized today. They were fighting over that the past few days,
Oh, that's
but
crazy.
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I thought he
One,
was still going to be coaching.
no, yeah, because he wanted to coach, I think, but the school wouldn't let him.
They needed.
Yeah.
Also, he wanted to coach even while not being at
Yeah, I
LSU.
think he wanted to coach and then go to the LSU job, but then on the school side of it, it's like, how could you run 2 programs at the same time?
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that part. I thought for some reason I thought he was still gonna be able to coach
No, yeah,
Ole
no,
Miss throughout the rest of the season, but I saw that's crazy.
yeah.
So I just saw this video of some fans just like booing the heck out of him, and I was like, dang, like I mean, I know y'all mad, but y'all still trying to win some, so
No.
crazy. What's your thoughts about that? Because we've had some you'll probably have a better insight of me, but we've had some basketball coaches do the same kind of thing these past couple years where their team are still playing. They
So
set new spots.
yeah, so I think unfortunately now in college, it's kind of encouraged to do that because if you wait, right, what's the guarantee that LSU is going to be like, okay, we're going to wait for you? They'll find the next person, right? They want to, move on with the process. And now with the transfer portal and everything, and these team seasons are, some of them are over now, they want to start, retaining guys from the previous roster and then getting new guys. So the calendar, I think, kind of encourages it. So as much as like, you're like, okay, Lane, why are you leaving? It's like, you know, it's the calendar. And the same thing with college basketball. Like if you think about the NCAA tournament, after the first weekend, a lot of the teams are done. So there's people on the transfer portal, and it's like even if you're still playing, for example, like Kevin Willard, and you have a job like Villanova open, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a chance like this again. And it's like you got to take it when it's there. I just think they have to, in my opinion, either move the transfer portal date back, like maybe start it, open it at the Final Four. But it's just such like it's a world of chaos because it's like you gotta leave if you want to accept the job. You can't wait too much longer because like you want to get guys in, you want to recruit guys. You can't wait around. It's sad because you worked the whole year to get to a Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and it's like no, I gotta go start my new job.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like a lose situation for like literally everyone involved. And
Yeah,
obviously, from the school, you can't wait too long. Kind of you say, you can't wait too long to kind of pick up a coach because you
right.
want to get stuff rolling yourself. Coach's standpoint, an opportunity might come up where it's like you might get a lot of money here, but you've been with this team for the past 8 months or past few years, and you're trying to win something, but it's like you're in a tough position. It's like, do I lose out on this opportunity if I could, benefit my family, just my life in general, or kind of stick with this team that I've put my heart and soul into? And a huge thing is the players in the portal, but also the players that are on the current team, like that are still
Yeah,
playing. Like, Ole Miss team, like the players right now. For one thing, you lost your coach, so it's like I'm going into these playoffs and everything without the person that's supposed to be leading us. But then also, it's like when stuff are still they're still trying to finalize stuff. It's like, okay, do I have to leave too? Do I like what's also my timetable? I do think for both football and basketball, like you gotta move the dates back. Like you gotta move the dates. I think once the season's officially over, everything can start because it's how can you put this on so many different parties to make so many like these are like life changing decisions at the end of the day, and you kind of give him like a couple like I don't know how long Lane Kiffin had, but I kind of heard about it a few days ago. And now he's kind of had to make this decision a few days later. It's like it's tough, and I don't know. I think definitely with everything changing, it's like something that the NCAA just has to look into. I don't think it's fair for anybody involved.
what I've noticed too is like, for example, Will Wade last year came from a smaller school like McNeese. They know that a coach like Will Wade, once they have success, is going to get offers from big time schools. So they know it's unlikely he's going to stay. And they seem to be okay with him coaching. And that situation was handled pretty well. Like they
Hmm.
didn't lose focus. They won their first game. So that obviously was a distraction. Whereas like Kevin Willard, for instance, a big program like Maryland, they feel like if you're going to Villanova, well, Maryland's a great program. Why are you leaving us?
Yeah,
So
definitely
I think it's more of a, it seems to be more of an issue of like the bigger programs when you go from one big program to another, because it's like, we're a great program. Why are you leaving us? Why are you doing this? Whereas like the smaller programs, it seems to be like, we understand that like you're going to a better opportunity, better job, and
Mhm.
you've brought us publicity and you know all this great stuff to a program that's never had it. So it's like, who are we to say like you can't coach the rest of this team? Because it's like when is McNeese going to be back there again? Maybe they will, but you never know.
That's a great point. I think with the smaller schools, I feel like just in general, when they have a player that does super well and they had to transfer up, it's like they're not usually they're not like super upset about because that brings more attention to their school. More
Right.
players are like, oh, I can go there and kind of develop and move my way up. So it's definitely more of a win for the smaller schools, but like I said, it makes sense that
Absolutely.
bigger schools are like, why go here? Just stay here. But definitely an interesting topic that is has college football world going crazy right now. But we obviously seen college basketball. It'll be interesting to see what kind of changes the NCAA make. I do think they have to make changes for sure. So
And the
we'll
one thing people don't realize is like a lot of these conversations with coaches start during the year. So
right.
like late in conference play, the coaches' agents are getting calls from like, an example probably Will Wade last year. I can't say this for sure, but there's probably some speculation that the NC State job was going to open. So they're already kind of like planning, okay, in my head, who's going to come with me as a player, staff, who am I looking in the portal possibly? So it's like those are already even happening. So it's like you got to put up some type of guidelines or some type of okay, this is when the transfer portal will open, something better because this it's going on when these teams are playing games to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
So it's like
It just takes away like the authenticity of what we
right,
play the game for. It's like everything outside of this is bringing stuff into the game. It's like no one wants to go through that. You want to just
no,
play the game at the most pure level, but
right.
it's how it is right now. It is what it is. But let's move on to something that's a little bit closer to home for both of us. The Liberty League. For people that don't know about the Liberty League, it's a D3 league in upstate New York. Um, Steve and I were both a part of it, and RPI. Obviously, me playing there, Steve coaching there. Pretty good league. I think a league that's overlooked even within the D3 rankings. You got teams like us, Union College, Vassar. Let's see, Ithaca, St. Lawrence. Um, what other teams? Bard. Who else am I missing?
Vassar,
Yeah, I said Vassar. Who
uh,
else? Clarkson,
RIT, Clarkson, Hope,
RIT. I'm missing
Skidmore.
Hobart. Skidmore, yeah. So pretty solid league. What? Let's just talk about just our experiences in the Liberty League. What's something that you thought? Like, why you think? First of all, let's talk about why you think our league was just overlooked in general. Because we've had the past few years, I think we've had probably a couple automatic bids that could have gotten in. Maybe me, Arsenal last year, that didn't get that look into the tournament. But did you feel that way towards? 'Cause I felt that way like since I was there. Like I think our league was a little bit overlooked.
Yeah, I think obviously when people think Division 3 Northeast basketball, the first thing that comes to mind is the NESCAC.
Yeah.
And then the second maybe is like the New Jersey, the league. I forgot what league it is. It's like Rowan, TCNJ.
Yeah.
It might be called the NJAC. That might be the
Injured,
second
yeah,
option.
yeah,
So it's
injured,
like
yeah.
now we're getting into like the third or fourth leagues and the Liberty League will come up. I just think why it's been overlooked. Again, I don't think we've had many other than the league champions. We've not had many other bids getting in there. So maybe that could be one reason. But I think if you look at the teams that have gotten that tournament, majority of the teams since I've been there at least have at least won a game in the
Won.
tournament.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like
Like
that's not easy.
last year, Ithaca won a game, right?
Yep.
The year before that, Hobart. Did Hobart win a game? No, they got
No.
smacked versus like team that plays zone. Before that, St. Lawrence. I don't know.
They lost, but then like for example, what's the right word I want to use? We won a few games that
Yeah,
following year, and
yeah,
then I think the year before that, I think it was like RPI Vassar or RPI Ithaca. There's like two or three teams in there.
yeah. There were a good amount of teams. Yeah. Well, our 2022 year, Vassar won the conference. We made the tournament as well. We made it to the
Yep.
Sweet 16 that year. I think there might be one more team that year too, but
Ithaca.
I think I want to say maybe Hobart or something like that. But it was like one of those teams that
Yep.
that
Yep.
ended up making it. Because we went
And
one
then
year, I think we got there. They
I was
had
going to
three.
say Hobart prior to you and I even getting there, they went to the Sweet 16. So if you
Yeah.
tally up the wins over the number of years, the average would be like one win a year. So it's
Hmm.
like, you know, and I
Yeah, that's
think, yeah, it's just, it's a league. First of all, it's definitely, in my opinion, a physical, defensive focused league. It's not a
hmm
league where a majority of the teams are getting up and down and shooting as many threes. There might be one or two teams in a given year, but I would say it's a physical, defensive, well coached league where everyone kind of knows everyone, and you really, it comes down comes down to probably the last 5 minutes most games,
Yeah.
no
Yeah, I think right
matter
off the
who's at
bat,
the top, who's at the bottom.
literally. Because I mean, a lot of the coaches that have been there so far, like Gilbride's been there for 10 plus years. Um,
Coach from
From
Vassar and
North,
Hobart
yeah,
have been there for a
yeah.
long
Team
time.
North School's been in like for like 30 years, so they know. And it's probably similar to a lot of different conferences
Mm,
around D3 in general, but like, they kind of know what they're running. And it's like it's super hard once you get in conference play, game in and game out. It doesn't matter really who you're playing. Like you kind of said, it was top versus the bottom. We were in games last year. We were down like 20 points to the. We were number one seed or number one team in the conference, and we were down by 20 points to the worst team in the conference
right?
last year. So definitely a competitive league that, like I said, I don't think gets as much love as it should be. Maybe because just I don't know. Because I think, like you kind of said, we've had success in the tournament. Maybe just our non-conference schedules maybe not be the best. Um,
Yeah, I just think in
but
terms of like getting teams to the tournament, it just hasn't been more than one most years.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think definitely I think people should be looking out for. Obviously, this year another be a great year because obviously that junior class is really good. Obviously, we're always going to vouch for RPI, but they're a great team. They're going to be a team to watch out for. Obviously, Vassar's really good. They have two really dynamic guards, and they killed us both. They both killed us last year. Hobart's always solid. Ithaca won the league last year, so it's a great league. And like I said, we've had battles like game in and game out. So
Yeah, no, it'd be exciting to watch, and hopefully throughout the year we could here and there, if anyone really cares about Liberty League basketball, they'll get to know. But yeah, we'll try to give everyone a little bit of our thoughts here and there.
yeah, most definitely. Something I want to get into, and it kind of connects with just Liberty League in general, just because we were both there. But um, something that I think a lot of players kind of struggle with, especially early on in the season, is finding a role within the team and then kind of like accepting the role and embracing it and kind of excelling at the role.
Right,
And you have players that obviously everyone thinks they're the best. You're supposed to think that you put in a lot of work, you're
right.
supposed to be the best player on the team, but there are gonna be times where your coach doesn't think that way. And it's like your coach might see you here and you think you're here, but at the end of the day, he kind of plays you. He's the one that's gonna put you. He's gonna get you on. Let me say that word. He's the one that's gonna make you have these certain time of minutes. Like he's the one putting you in the game. So I think a lot of players struggle with is like they don't have that mindset of I'm gonna kind of be sacrificial and look out for the team more than myself. And I think we've seen it just in basketball in general. So maybe let's talk about what's your thoughts on why players think so much or why players don't really accept and excel in their roles so much, and what's one way that they kind of fix that? Maybe it's like a mindset thing. Maybe it's
Yeah.
something that they kind of just have to realize within themselves. What do you think?
So
You
I
think is
think
that?
a lot of players want to get, let's say, to be that lead option, scoring option is, up here. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is to get up here, there's the steps in between, and you got to start at the bottom.
Most
There's
definitely.
no way most coaches in college, especially, are going to let you get to that point unless you've mastered everything up until that point. So I'll give you, and you know this, right? There's very rare a freshman comes in and the coach gives him the keys to the whip, I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to earn your role and show the coach, hey, I can defend it, hit open shots. My sophomore year, I can do a little bit more off the dribble. My junior year, I can defend and do stuff on offense simultaneously. Then your senior year, right? You can do what you want. A good example of this for RPI at least is a lot of the time in terms of offensively giving freedom to do what we want. Our coach will give those senior point guards because they've shown freshman to junior year, hey, I could do what you're asking me to do. And the senior year comes around, for example, coach was like, hey, we're going to give you more freedom to do such and such. Right. I think a lot of players just always think that, hey, coaches want me to score and show off my bag, quote unquote. And there's just a lot more to basketball than scoring. And I think nowadays with all the stuff you see online on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, it's always these highlight plays and there's no one, no one showing the one more pass. No one shows the charge. No one shows the great hustle play to deflect the ball out of bounds. And that's what the coaches really want to find because there's so many shots that go around. There's usually one to two guys on the team that are getting a majority of the shots, and everyone else kind of has to play that role.
Yeah.
So that's why I think players struggle with it. How to fix that, in my opinion, I think you just got to think of it, like I said, kind of as a four-step process. Your first year, you got to figure out what's the identity of this team and how could I contribute to that. So I'll give an example. If you're going to a defensive minded team, there's a good chance if you want to get on that court, you're going to have to defend and rebound, right? Once you do that, your sophomore year, you look at your strengths and weaknesses, and within the team identity, okay, how can I add to it? Maybe our team is a team that they involve a lot of post up actions. Okay, maybe this year in the offseason I could work on my post, game and whatnot. And then your third junior and senior year, hopefully if you master those things, the coach will give you more freedom because the coach again, they want to have guys who you always say this who they trust. They don't want to give the keys to the whip, quote unquote, to a guy who thinks should be shooting post up fadeaways when he can't even do what he's supposed to do on defense. So it's just like kind of like a ladder. You beat the first level, then you unlock the second level. Second level, third, fourth. So that's how I kind of would imagine it.
Yeah, I think like you kind of say, it all comes down to trust within coaches. Whether high school, college level, there's going to be rarely a time where you come in at the college level and you're a freshman, like you said, getting up 20 shots a game. And
Oh, for sure.
coaches have to see what you could do at a high level, and then they have to trust you enough to do it for them as a team.
Right.
And I think in terms of like a mindset change, I think that's all it is. It's like one, you have to like realize like you're probably not as good as you think you are. And someone like me, I came into RPI thinking, I'm gonna be like the best player right when I get there. You know what I'm saying? Just because of how my mindset was, and I obviously had a rude awakening coming in, and I didn't touch the court my first year. But I think that was great for me because it was like, okay, I'm not playing. It can't just be me like thinking that like why I'm not playing is because of coach. It's like there must be a reason why I'm not playing, and I think first realizing why your role isn't what you want it to be is the first step, and it's a whole step process to it, and that's the first step. I think after that, it's like okay, talk to your coach, see what was going on, see what didn't get me on the court, and then you have to just start working on it. You got to start picking on it every summer, every off season, and kind of getting better at not the stuff that you think is gonna get you on the court, but stuff that your coach is telling you to get you on the court. So, it's always just it's something that a self realization. I think a lot of players don't understand, and some I think social media is a huge part to it. When you see maybe your friends coming as a freshman getting shots up and doing this thing, or you just see like kind of say these big time players doing what they're doing, and it's like
Right.
not everyone's the same player. You know what I'm saying? So I think realizing what's going on, realizing that everyone's journey is different, and it's a you have a 4 year, maybe 5 year window. They started changing that up,
Yeah.
but so it's me. You have a long time to kind of get to where you want to be, and um,
Uh,
you guys just be unselfish. Like just do what's best for the team, and then your time will end up coming. So
And I think also another thing that gets overlooked, and you mentioned, is when you talk to your coach, a lot of people just like, they just kind of have a thought in their head of why coach doesn't play me. Go talk to him because there's no incentive for the coach to sit there and say, hey, he's not going to make up stuff to you, right? He's going to be honest because if a coach recruits you to play, especially in college, they believe in you to a certain degree.
true.
And that way, your freshman, sophomore year, they still believe in you. They might, let's say you didn't play your freshman year. It doesn't mean they don't see a future for you, but that means there's things you need to improve on if you
Hmm.
want to play. So I think having that conversation and then also having the self awareness to say, hey, even if I disagree personally with what the coach is saying, why not just listen to him, try it out, see how it goes, and what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work, but at least you did it in the best way that can get you on the court. Because I guarantee you, as a player, you do not know better than what the coach wants. So it's just, yeah,
And your coach is gonna make the rotation. So it's like
yeah,
whether you like it or not, if you want to play at this said school, it's like
yep,
you gotta end up doing what he wants you to do. So definitely something I think a lot of players kind of struggle with. And I think, that was great insight that you gave. And this is just it's a process. It's a long journey.
absolutely.
You gotta just realize it. Quickly, one last thing. Let's go through something that I've been working with my little brother on this is how do you think, and I kind of started off a little bit, but like you don't want to kind of just fizzle out in terms of your skill development throughout the basketball season. It's something that you work on whole off season, you get better, and when you get to the practice and stuff like that, obviously that skill development kind of goes down a little because you're not working on so much individual skills that you were doing previously. So I think it's huge that players at least get a couple times in the gym, whether it's getting shots up, whether it's you don't have to like hurt your body with it, but it's like simple stuff that's gonna translate skill wise to your team. So whether that's changing your workout plan to how your team is playing, what kind of sets you're running, stuff like that. But getting shots up and still keeping that rhythm, staying sharp with your skills, getting like 10, 15 minutes of ball handling and stuff, I think is super huge. And something that we did at RPI was obviously like weight training a little bit, like maybe once or twice a week. And that just also helps with injury prevention. That also helps with
Right.
staying strong within your body so your body doesn't break down and stuff like that. So I think a lot of players sometimes just like give up on not give up, they overlook how important it is to kind of still maintaining that strength and getting better throughout the season. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think sometimes too, when you think about the off season, it's about getting better. So whether that's optimizing your sleep, what you eat, how you train, what you're training, that stuff in the off season is easy to think about. Well, when you're in the season, I don't know how many people are thinking about, hey, what am I putting into my body? What am I sleeping like? Because it's like you're so focused on basketball, school, whatever socially you got going on that sometimes you get caught up in that. So I think one aspect is just making sure you're continuing to focus on those pillars of a player because if you're going to overstep, your sleep, your nutrition, all that stuff, it's like, okay, like it's going to be hard for you to perform and be able to get better if you're not adequately doing that. The second aspect of on the court stuff, I would say, is one is definitely for your team, getting shots that you are going to get in the game and then perfecting those, I think is a great thing to work on in the season. And then I think like you said, I would say in terms of just like individually, because again, when you're in a practice, you're getting a lot of, reps of game shots of shooting the game. You're having a lot of 5-on-5, 3-on-3 setting stuff. I just think another thing that's a great, and I saw a lot of our guys do it this year, was play one-on-one with the teammate, right? Whether that's, after practice, before, off day, because that's another way to just like, okay, it's one thing to work on your ball handling, your moves and whatnot, but there's no better way to improve that stuff is going against a kid of your similar size or skill level. I think that's a good one as well, I would say.
Yeah, most definitely. That's something that because at the end of the day, it's like you kind of have to figure out how to beat your man. And obviously, we had players like Olu, Yashil. They were always, playing
Nate.
after practice. Nate, obviously, and that stuff is still, like you said, you don't even have to work out as much, but that stuff still kind of hones in your skills because it just brings back that creativity that works on ball handling, works on making tough shots. You know what I'm saying? So that's actually a great
And
point.
it's funny, I've seen those guys in practice and then some of them in the game like do those moves when
Literally,
they
yeah,
play one on one and you're like, "Oh my God, like how did he make that?" But it's like, "Okay, I've seen that kid
no
practice
facts.
every day after practice and
Yeah.
once." So, yeah, I think that's a good point as well.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. I think everyone has to find what works for them.
Right.
Obviously, it might not be the same as your teammate or the next person next to you, but I think finding some things that work for you and can help you just get better throughout the season will be huge, not just for yourself, but for the team in general. So that's a great point that you bring up for sure.
Yep. No, I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, well, another episode down, man.
Great
We're
episode.
getting like I think it's like episode 7 now
Yeah.
or 6, one of those episodes. But yeah, man, there's another great one down. Obviously, we still appreciate all the love we're getting from supporters here. Whether it's giving us a like, comment, all that stuff. We appreciate all that stuff, and we're just gonna keep going with it, man. So
Yeah. We thank you guys' support every week and yeah, like and comment it up.